you normally wouldn't come across. It's important to know the things that we're going to see in the salon, and if there's something is irregular, to send them to the appropriate person, which isn't us, to deal with that condition. So I think, spending weeks learning all these disorders and diseases that we're not allowed to do anything with is a waste of time, frankly. But I just don't believe there is a proper way. I think any way, as long as the education carries on, keeps growing, and you keep learning more, is fine.
Okay. Also, I think as a salon owner, sorry to interrupt you there, I'm a commercial person. Because having a salon owner, why I think it also goes hand in hand is if that person stops having nail extensions, why lose that person to someone down the road? By doing both, you keep that client and you are commercial. So no training is wasted, but I do believe it does go hand in hand.
We were just both having a conversation about this, and we're both students.
We can't hear you.
We're both students, and I've done a nail course where it wasn't required that you did a college course before you did nail extensions, and but they were advised that you did do that. And I was saying to my friend that with everyone's customers' perception now on chop shops, like your nail bars around the corner that ruin your nails, it's good to have college training just for that customer satisfaction, because a lot of customers don't like knowing that their nails are being ripped to pieces by nail enhancements. Whereas if you had college training in salon, having a proper nail extension put in, they feel more comfortable with it.
And also if they do come in with maybe a nail disease or whatever, you can gently tell them about it. And if they know that you're knowledgeable about their nail condition, then they're more likely to come back. So if you advise them to go see a doctor, have it treated, and then come back, we'll be willing to do your nails then, I think they'll know that you're educated and you know what you're talking about, and it's not just, you're not doing it for the money, for example, or just to get the clients in. I think they're more likely to come back, and I think it's important for them to know as well that the person who's going to do nail treatment on them, or nail enhancement, knows what they're doing.
I can actually agree with that, and I can give you an example of that's actually happened in the salon. I had a lady who came to me who's been having nail extensions for years and years. When I removed her nail polish, her nails on every 10 nails were green, from the cuticle area through to free edge, and you could actually see the separation coming as well. And when I said to her, "How long have you had that?" she said, "I've been like that for 6 months." So I said, "Well, what did your technician say before?" She said, "Oh, she just kept putting a darker polish on and just saying, oh, it'll be okay." I'm sorry, no, it's not acceptable. The beauty of it was I said to her, "Sorry, I cannot touch your nails. You do need to go and see a GP. You can advise her what it can be, but obviously we're not qualified doctors for that." I didn't see her for 3-4 months. She then came back to me with no nails on at all, but she had fresh regrowth attached to the nail plate, 2/3 up her nail. And she came into me and said, "I want to show you these and thank you." She said, "Because I've been like that and it really worried me what was going to happen to my nails. And now they're growing back healthier because I went to a GP and he gave me the right medication and they're fine." And I think that is it. We actually give that confidence to the consumer because we know what we're talking about. And I was mortified that someone could just put a dark polish to cover nail separation and not deal with it, or have the guts and that qualification behind them that says, "No, I cannot do your nails. You need to see a GP." It doesn't mean you're failing as a nail technician, it means you're doing your job correctly.
Can I just go back to the first part of the question? And can I ask all of you out there, do you think there is a system that you should learn first? No? Nobody. So nobody thinks that the gel should be the first one to learn? No? But if everybody agrees with that, we won't even bother debating it then. That's great. Is there anybody else that wants to add anything? Yes.
On the subject of a particular system to learn first, I have no opinion on that, but I have noticed a move by certain suppliers who are moving, when training and enhancements, directly to sculpting training and saying that it's not necessarily worth learning tipping now. And I just wondered what the opinion of the panel was on that.
Coming from an easy flow background, our training is quite comprehensive. We do include sculpting as well as tip application for our introductory courses. Going back to the original question, I'll answer that as well. The original question about what system, I think depends on the person. You get to know the student, and I think you can find what's most appropriate. But I'm going to answer that as well. Yeah, I wanted to come on to that. But if you help that person with what you think is good for them, and then I usually decide with my students whether I think that they will cope with sculpting better first or tip application first, the same as I do with what system. So I tend to judge it by each student, and I tend to tailor-make my courses according to what the student can cope with. And the same as, if I've taught them tip application and I think they're not ready to cover it during that course, then we'll stay with tip application. Some people, I start straight away with sculpting and then move them on to tip application so that they do come away knowing both. But I tend to like to tailor-make it specifically for each student.
Can I just ask the question now and clarify that? Why would you choose to do the sculpting first?
Some people choose specifics. They ask for a specific type of training. And sometimes what I do is start off with a slightly more difficult, which is sculpting, because then they find the tip application easier.
I can understand that, and I can understand logic to a degree. I mean, I come from where I did sculpting first and then went on to tip and overlay, but you're talking at a time when I started to train, tips weren't about. It is down to the personal preference, but in my opinion, it is only my opinion, it depends on what that person wants in the training, what they want to offer, because some people never want to sculpt. I don't think you have to sculpt to be a good nail technician. I do feel it's more of an advanced technique, and you can do a very good tip and overlay application to get a good nail extensions. It doesn't mean I would never use sculpting. I do think there's a time and place for sculpting, but I don't think it's necessary to, answering your question hopefully, is that you'd have to do sculpting first to become a good nail technician to then do tip and overlay.
Just to throw in my 2 cents on the subject, and it sort of does bounce back to the whole manicure first or whatever first. Sculpting is an essential element of being a nail professional, an enhancement professional. Tipping is just as important of a skill set to have. Manicuring is just as important of a skill set to have. Guys, pedicuring is as well as all of the other systems. These are all parts that make up a nail professional. If you don't have to do it all in one snap go. Your beginner's course doesn't have to cover every single one of those elements. Some of us spend a long time learning and adding to those elements before I think we've got a good, well-rounded skill set. We can call ourselves true professionals. But whether you start off at sculpting or whether you start off tipping, as long as you're starting off with a good education system behind you and clear goals in front of you, and a great educator that's teaching from a system versus their personal preference. We're going to do sculpting today because I only likes to sculpt. As long as you're not dealing with that, then, you're on the right path to becoming a professional. It's not going to happen in one quick go, but,
And I agree with that actually, because it's like building blocks, isn't it? To become a nail professional and a complete nail professional, you have to be able to do all the systems in all the different methods. But it is building blocks. There is no fast-track way to become a professional nail technician. You have to master each different stage before you move on to the next. Which way you do that does not matter as long as you master the technique in the chosen system that you're doing, whether it's sculpting, tipping or fiberglass wrapping, it doesn't matter, but master it and use it as building blocks to become a complete nail technician.
I'd just like to say that from my point of view, I think when you're offering beginner training to somebody, which is their first sort of foray into the industry, I do think it's quite important to teach them everything that they might possibly need.